and welcome to the Highest Fawx Show, hosted by Alexis Fawx. Again, I'm just here to join her clout so I can get more Instagram followers.
Shut up.
That's why I'm here too.
Yeah, exactly. We're all here just to
It's all about those grams.
gain about like what 1.11% of her followers to join ours. No, I couldn't care.
That was almost timely.
Nice rim shot.
Yeah, rim shot right there. We have a special guest on our show. Go ahead and introduce yourself so we don't screw anything up.
That's cool. I'm Matt Brady, owner and brewer at Astronomy Aleworks.
Cool.
Loki made his debut as usual.
Of course. What about any social medias and stuff like that you want to share?
Yeah, we're just on Facebook and Instagram, Astronomy Aleworks. Just look us up on that.
Awesome. So the reason why you're here is you just unfortunately happened to meet this person here to create a beer that she has nothing about. Or originally she didn't drink for a good 5 years, and all of a sudden, bam, she's an alcoholic.
No,
so
I'm not.
No, alcoholics go to meetings. She's just a drunk.
yes, there you go. There you go.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
So can you explain more about your company and obviously what you offer and stuff like that?
Yeah, so we're a brewery over in Henderson, Nevada. We're part of a little group where there are 3 breweries, a winery, and a distillery. You have Bad Beat Brewing and Craft House Brewing in the same parking lot. They're celebrating their 7-year anniversaries this year. And we are celebrating our 3rd in a few months.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we're just a family-owned brewery. Been together for 3 years now. Took a couple years to create out of nothing. And we have a 10-barrel brewing system, which is about medium size, especially for this area.
What's medium size?
So like you can go much smaller. 10 barrels, barrels 31 gallons. So it's 310 gallons. Craft House next door has 10 barrels. Bad Beat has 15. Downtown you have Abel Baker has a 20 barrel system. So does what's her face? Tenaya Creek. You also have Barley's and Gordon Biersch with 30 barrel systems.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And it's as small as a 3 barrel system out here. Banger Brewing downtown, which is on their like 7th or 8th anniversary, and they're doing a great job over on Fremont Street, and they have a very small system, so they just crank out beer all the time, but they don't distribute much.
Oh, wow,
So
cool.
yeah,
Nice. So what was your background as far as before you got into beer? Like, obviously before that
I was a manager at FedEx Ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you decided, fuck it, I'm making beer.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
If you love it, why not make it your passion?
so were you a huge beer drinker before, or are you just kind of like
No, I was a
tried
much
some-
smaller beer drinker.
Okay.
I've gained a lot of weight since then.
There you go.
Now I'm a huge beer drinker.
Very nice. Yeah, she's gonna be one soon.
What?
Apparently, you're gaining weight because you're pretty happy about that.
I am gay. Yeah,
I was a svelte young man at one point.
Nice. So how difficult was it to just kind of? Did you start off small? Obviously, you're small, but like, how difficult to just kind of like evolve into where you're at right now?
Actually, brewing on a large scale is far easier than on a small scale.
Is it?
Yeah, because you spend a couple $100,000 on machines to make it easier. So you don't have to do it at home anymore. You don't have to do it on a stove. No, you have professional equipment. It's actually much easier to make good beer at higher levels, but not everybody has $200,000 to spend on their hobby, much less another $500,000 for everything else around it.
Yeah.
But it's the hard part is running a business, just like any other business. That's the hard part of all this. Making good beer, while presents definitely its challenges, you rely on other people to help you. I hired a brewer initially to help me. He didn't have much experience, but he did a very good job. And then I hired another brewer after I let the first brewer go, and he's a professional brewer. So he's been in the business for a long time, and he's making amazing beers. So I don't actually brew very much anymore. So.
Okay. So for as far as the hiring process, what education or what experience do you need in order to become like a master brewer?
Well, see, that's a term right there, brewmaster. It's kind of a bullshit term.
It's kind of like what people say, like grow master in the cannabis business.
Oh
Everybody's
yeah,
like, that's
Yeah.
fucking
yeah.
bullshit.
See, it's bullshit. Yeah. So like, brewmaster implies like you basically have a doctorate. Everybody else is just a brewer, and only very pretentious people call themselves brewmasters.
Got it.
And if anybody's listening, that might piss some people off. I don't care. If you call yourself a brewmaster, you're full of shit unless you really are a brewmaster. And there's only a couple people in Vegas who I say would be qualified to call themselves a brewmaster, and they will not call themselves a brewmaster. They don't feel they have the education for it, which is fair. You know, it's like Dr. Dre isn't a real doctor.
Right. Yeah.
If you have a heart condition, you're not going to him.
God.
You know,
I need some beats.
yeah, he's got a PhD in beats, but not in heartbeats. So
Exactly.
yeah, you know, so it's an honorary title in that sense, and it's cool. You know, I don't think all the MCs are actually masters of ceremonies, but yeah. So we honestly, a lot of people in the industry really frown on the term brewmaster just because there really are brewmasters, but not a lot of actual brewmasters. Everybody else is just a brewer.
Right.
So what in terms of education experience, again, I hired a guy off the street with zero experience. Well, I shouldn't say zero experience, very limited experience. Because brewing, while very hard, when you get the good equipment, it isn't that bad.
So it's like following the recipe in which you've already laid out.
Right. And
How do you come up with your recipes?
yeah, that's how do you come up with recipes cooking? It's the
You
same
just-
thing.
you know the flavors and
You
you
learn
just
you learn
put
what a
it together.
spice is. You learn what an ingredient is, and
Yeah.
after a while, you just kind of go, oh well, we'll probably need 10 pounds of this. We'll probably need 4 pounds of that. 7 bags of this, and you pretty much have it right.
Yeah.
And you don't really need to fine tune it much because you have your experience going like, well, clearly you don't need a whole bag of this, or obviously you need more of this. And there are basically 4 components in beer. Actually, there are literally 4 components in beer: barley, water, hops, and yeast. So water, you can get it from a municipal source like I do. You can get reverse osmosis water, a machine that strips the water clean, and then you add your minerals to it. Some places have RO, some places don't. It's somewhat of a debate how important water is. Really, you just have to make sure the chlorine's gone and you're okay.
Yeah.
Hops, there are hundreds of varietals of hops, and some of them are very different. So they have different bitterness levels called alpha acid units. So, you know, you might need 10 pounds of this, but it tastes like that, but you only need 4 pounds of this, and it tastes like that. It depends on you're trying to get a floral aroma, or you're trying to get bitterness over it. There's tons of things, just like there's different spices. Barleys as well. There's tons of different kinds of barleys, or there's the same barley just roasted to different levels. That's how you make black beer. I mean, when you're making a black beer, you take a yellow beer and you add very little dark malt, and it darkens the whole thing up. So like one of the hardest things for me to ever create are actually red beers, because they're either too yellow or too black. So it's very hard to get just that right color. And that takes a lot of experience to know just a bit of this, just a bit of that, because just a little too much more and it's too black. So making a stout's real easy in terms of color.
Yeah.
Just throw a bunch of black into it.
Boom.
Done. Easy.
Can you explain the different types of beer? You mentioned earlier what lager,
Sure.
ale, and
So basically, all beer is made of barley, water, hops, and yeast. You can add fruit to it. You can add spices to it. We just brewed a beer with pounds of bitter orange peel, sweet orange peel, and coriander, which was a pain in the ass because it came whole, not crushed. So we had to take a hammer and crush. We don't have rolling pins in the brew. What the fuck do you have a rolling pin for?
let's go to the Asian market and get one of those.
Yeah, I mean, there's a way to do it. I mean, but I was like, damn it. So we put it in a bag and just hammered it. 'Cause we got
Got the
hammers
job
and
done.
bags. Yeah, it did. But it's all barley, water, hops, and yeast. And then with the yeast is divided into precisely 2 categories: ale and lager. Every single beer you drink is either going to be an ale or it will be a lager, and there's no exceptions to that. You have ales, which ferment typically at 68 to 75 degrees, and they ferment at the top of the beer quickly. Lagers ferment at the bottom of the beer at colder temperatures, lower 60s, high 50s. And the only reason lager yeast exists is because of humans. Yeast existed without humans. It's natural. But through selection, we have lager yeast because yeast does not want to perform naturally at 50 degrees. But because brewers kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and growing it and weeding out the bad and bringing in the good, just like you have different dog breeds,
Right.
same thing with yeast.
Oh.
And then besides those two yeasts, inside a lager, you have different lager yeasts. Inside of ales, you have different ale yeasts. Like this beer, this is the Belgian Tripel. You're going to get a lot of notes of banana off of this and sweetness. That comes all from the yeast. This beer, barley-wise, is extraordinarily uncomplicated. It has one barley, just one. It has one hop, and it's not even a spectacular hop. It's just a medium hop. All of the flavor comes from the yeast. It also does have some sugar in it and has some honey. But it's a very simple beer. The yeast is what carries this through.
It has a lot of flavor, though.
Yeah, and meanwhile you have a blonde ale or an IPA where you want the yeast to stay out of the way. You want the plainest flavor yeast. You want something that's just going to get in there, cut it out, so that all the hops can play over it. Stouts, you really want the barley to play over it. You want to use a British ale yeast and stuff. Lagers the same way. You have lagers that lager yeast that introduces virtually no flavor, and yeast that introduce a lot of flavor. So it's just a mixture of all those different things to get all the different beer styles.
Okay. So obviously you mentioned about the different types and stuff like that. Obviously, different regions and different temperatures and different because I know.
Well, temperatures no longer matter.
No,
Yeah.
that's right. No matter
because we have machines to keep the beer cool. We have this glycol machine that hooks. Glycol is a sugar-based fluid that's food grade. Otherwise, you could use. Honestly, you could use what you use in your car, antifreeze. But if that gets into the beer, you'll die.
Yeah, for sure.
So glycol is more expensive.
Well, with the exception of Fireball.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so but glycol is food grade. So if you have a leak in your fermenter, it's just sugar water. Tastes terrible, but it won't kill you. But it can hold a temperature lower than freezing. So you mix that with water, and you just all fermenters have a sandwich plate. So you run that cold water past it to put the beer at the right temperature.
Oh, okay.
So temperature, it matters when you're doing it, but in terms of region, there's still things done the old school way. Right. Absolutely. But right now it's basically, it's all machines now.
Well, because because people always say for Guinness, for instance, like if you go down to where it's made,
everybody says, the Guinness tastes so much better.
Right. So why is have you experienced that?
Two reasons why Guinness tastes better. One, it's all psychological. I mean, it's it's been explained to me two ways, and this was by the former owner of Sin City Brewing Company. Psychological, because you're in Ireland, you're having a blast. This is cool. You're having a great time. If you were having a shitty time, you wouldn't be like, fuck, my life sucks. This beer is great, but my life sucks. My wife divorced me. I'm stuck in a foreign country. This beer is great, though, but you're not going to be like that. You're not going to care how the beer is. It's great. He also says, and this is true, it's literally a different beer. It's a different recipe. It's not pasteurized. It's made in a different place using slightly different ingredients.
Different laws, right?
Yeah.
Different regulations.
So the beer is literally different. If you were to take those exact same ingredients, ship them over to the U.S. because people say, the water's better. The water's better. It's like bullshit. You can get RO water.
Well, just like,
you can get an exact chemical composition of what's in that water and duplicate it precisely. You could do that down the street.
Right.
I mean, Tenaya Creek could do it if they wanted. They could have Guinness water. People do that. They make Guinness water. It's so why? It tastes so much better. Oh, it really does. No, you're just having a good time. It's psychological.
Yeah.
And you know what? It probably does taste better than the Guinness you get on draft
freezing
here.
Out, raining,
it's
and
probably
freezing.
literally better beer.
Right.
My stout tastes better than the Guinness you get on tap, but it's also a different beer. So cool.
I used to drink a lot of
plus
stout
there's a lot of
in college.
marketing. I mean, there's a lot of marketing
There's a ton
involved.
of marketing. Absolutely. And that's great. That's fantastic. People are susceptible to suggestion. And I mean that positively. If everybody walks around, man, this beer is good. Man, this beer is good. You're probably going to drink it and go, yeah, you're right. This beer is good. You're not going to, some people would be contrarian, like, fuck you, this beer's terrible. Just to be an asshole, even if it's great, So
That
it's mostly
definitely does happen.
psychological. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So before beer, like what were you mostly drinking before you started brewing your own?
Everything.
Just everything?
Yeah.
What do you have like a favorite or
Nope.
like prefer?
I do not.
Try different.
He just loves beer.
Ale, lager, destroy everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So what determines the alcohol content on the beer?
The easiest answer is how much grain you use.
Okay.
So this is how beer is made. You crack grain and you ship it over to a mash tun and you expose it to hot water. Not boiling water, hot water. The water we keep is 190 degrees. And by the time it gets over, it's about 180 degrees through the tubing and the pumps and stuff. It drops. And then you mix it with cold water to get it to what you call your strike temperature. And you make this big oatmeal type mush. And you want that to be typically around 150 degrees. Yes, you can go 154. Sure, you can go 147. So basically 150. If you make every beer at 150, you'll probably be okay. The higher you go, you can get drier beers, you can get wetter beers, whatever. But 150, let's just call it that. And you let it sit there till the starches convert to sugars. That's why you crack the grain. You don't mill the grain, you just crack it open. And you pump that over with an auger, typically. That's what we use. That's what most breweries use. And you're exposing all the starches inside to hot water. The starches convert to sugar water, a very sticky, sweet sugar water. And the more grain you use, the more sugar you have. And some grains have a higher sugar potential, some don't, but they're all roughly the same. So basically, the more you use, the more sugar you get. So you let it sit there, and starch conversion happens immediately. You have a grist hydrator that as the grist is dropping, it's getting hit with hot water immediately. And then it hits the ground and gets hit with your base water that you've already laid. So that happens immediately. Some people say you don't need to leave it in there for more than 15 minutes. Some people like to leave it in for an hour. There's no right answer. As long as all of it, if you leave it in there for 2 hours, it doesn't really do anything. There's just a point at which you're just simply wasting time. So we typically leave it in for 30 minutes, and then we start what's called a Vorlauf, where you're running the sugar water back on top of the grain bed. So you have the bottom.
Use a pump, or you manually do it?
Yeah, pump. Yeah. Okay. So you have on the bottom of your grain a false bottom. So it's a lot of slits that the water can get through, but not the grain. And so a lot of dust and stuff still gets through there. So you drop it through, pump it out, and run it on top. So the water just seeps back through the grain, but all the dust gets left on top. So then you get pretty clear wort. That takes about 20 minutes at our level. Then you pump it over to the boil kettle, and you do boil it. And that's when you add your hops. And how long you boil the beer has an impact on the color. The longer you boil it, the more caramel it's going to look. It does have an impact on alcohol percentage. The longer you boil it, the more concentrated the sugars are, the higher alcohol you're going to get. You're going to have less stuff, but it's more concentrated in there. Typical boil is 60 minutes. Some are obscenely long. If you have a beer like Dogfish Head, you have Dogfish 60, 90, 120. That actually refers to the boil length.
Okay.
60 minute, 90 minute,
Okay.
120 minute. Most boils are 60 minutes. That's like 90% of the beers. On the other hand, you get a brewery like Lovelady. I don't think they do anything under 90. Whatever.
Right.
It's fine. It's partially a matter of preference and whatnot. That's when you add your hops. And the longer the hops are in there at high quantities, the more bitter your beer will be.
Okay.
So you have, like, for instance, that double IPA there, the binary solution. That's a very bitter beer. So we put in a bunch of hops at the beginning, and they're in there for the whole, I think that's a 90-minute boil.
Oh, wow.
They're in there the whole 90 minutes. The Hazers on Stun, that's a New England style IPA. That has almost as much hops, but it's not bitter at all. It is all the bitterness is all the hops are in at the end, so you get hop juiciness, hop flavor without the bitterness.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah, so that's the most popular style of beer right now is New England IPA, pretty much. And so you get all the hop aroma, hop flavor, but none of the bitterness out of it. And actually, one of those hops, you whirlpool the beer because a lot of solids grow in beer, and then the hops break apart. And you whirlpool it to create a hop cone in the center because you just want to pull away the liquid to go to the fermenter. Most of the hops in that beer are done during whirlpool at 170 degrees. You want to boil the beer because everything after the boil has to be sanitary.
Right.
You can't let a single microbe of bacteria in there. Because if you do, it will grow and you'll have sour beer. It won't be poisonous beer.
Right.
And some people clearly sour their beer on purpose, like making yogurt. You want the bacteria there. You want the sourness there. But for most beer, you don't want it to be sour. So you have to sanitize everything using peracetic acid. You no longer use oxygen. Too much oxygen, everything grows in oxygen. So you use carbon dioxide after that. Nothing grows in CO2. So you push things around with CO2, not oxygen, with pressure and whatnot. The beer is shot over to the fermenter where the yeast is probably there waiting for it. You have to cool it down. So you whirlpool it at 170
Because it
degrees.
would kill the yeast? Is that
It
what
would
it
kill
is?
the
Yes,
yeast,
sir.
yeah. First, it would kill the yeast, and even at high temperatures, the yeast will ferment at 90 degrees. Yeast will ferment at 100 degrees. It loves 100 degrees, but you're going to get all these weird fruity off flavors that you don't want.
Okay.
So 68 is typically your ale yeast. 68 or a little lower sometimes. And again, it depends on the yeast, depends on the style. There's so many different variants, but you pump it over there, and you do oxygenate the yeast because it needs oxygen to get kickstarted. But then it creates two things. It creates alcohol and carbon dioxide. You have venting tubes from the fermenter that blow into water because things can't go into water and shoot up the spout, but stuff can shoot out the spout through the water and up, meaning gas, meaning CO2. Towards the end of that beer, you can, if you'd like, capture all the CO2 and it pressurizes into the liquid, and that's how it's carbonated. That's the original way to carbonate beer.
Okay.
It's a pretty reliable way to do it when you get used to it. Like if you go to Gordon Biersch, every single one of their beers is carbonated naturally. They do not, at least at this Gordon Biersch.
Why would you want the carbonation in the beer and versus?
Well, all beer is pretty much carbonated because it makes it taste better.
Just makes it taste
CO2,
better.
Yeah, I mean CO2, the bubbliness.
Yeah, I was wondering why is that?
Yeah, it just tastes better. It's cool. Flat beer tastes weird. This tastes better. Just like soda, flat soda. Why would you want carbonated
it's a
soda?
little
It tastes better.
Oh, sometimes
But but yeah, so like some people say that naturally carbonated beer tastes different, and they are so full of shit.
Okay.
So we force carbonate. We have a thing called a carb stone, and it's a porous stone. It typically in a kind of cylindrical shape, and you force CO2 through that and diffuses the beer at low temperature it diffuses the CO2 into the beer at low temperatures, and that carbonates the beer under pressure and time and temperature. And you can naturally carbonate a beer just fine if you time it right and you cut it off right at the right time. The CO2 will get trapped in there and pushed in and get the right carb level. You can do it, and it's an efficient, nice way to do it. It takes a lot of practice to get it right, though, so that's why we don't do it. It's just so much easier to go, boop, done. Just press on, and it'll be done in a day, no worries.
Well, it's also efficient at that point.
It is. It costs money, but not much. I mean, CO2 costs 25 cents a pound. So, I mean, it doesn't take that much to carbonate a beer, so whatever.
So you mentioned obviously different times and stuff like that. So what on, I would say average or typically from start to finish to
Yeah, we call that grain to glass.
Grain to glass. How long would that?
Anywhere from 3 days to months.
Okay.
Yeah. If you use this new yeast, well, it's actually very old yeast, but new to the Western world in terms of brewing, Kveik yeast out of, I believe it's Norway. It ferments at 100 degrees, does not give off flavors, and does it in like 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
You can be grain to glass in a couple days. A lot of breweries around here are experimenting with that. We did it. I didn't like it, but whatever.
Yeah.
Lagers can take months, if not way longer.
Yeah.
Lagers, the longer you give a lager time, the better the beer gets.
Really?
So
Okay.
typically, though, 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks.
So obviously, I mean, do you have people in shifts, or do you just kind of like make sure you come in the next day and then worry about later?
Where we're at, it's next day kind of stuff.
Okay.
When you get a little larger, you get like for instance, we have a 10-barrel system but 20-barrel fermenters, so you have to brew twice to get into there. So you can either do it twice in one day and do it in shifts, or one day after the next. Depends on what you want to do and how you want to do it. But yeah, much larger breweries, they have shift brewers, first shift, second shift, third. Most of brewing is cleaning anyways.
Okay.
So, yeah.
There's a little hometown brewery in my hometown, and they gave me a little tour, and it was really cute.
Yeah.
But they said that's pretty much cleaning it every single night.
All the time.
Cleaning it.
90% of what you do as a brewer is clean. Brewing is actually a fairly simple process. It takes 6 hours out of a day, and you're cleaning for 3 more hours. So,
Wow. Yeah.
you have to clean, you have to, rinse it before sometimes. You have to watch the fermenter it goes into. Then you have to prep the fermenter with peracetic acid to make sure there's no microbes in there. CO2 it. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned you try all kinds of beer. Now, do you prefer it warm? Like, I think the Germans drink it warm. Or
See, that's also kind of a misnomer.
Okay.
People don't drink beer warm; they just drink warmer than they do in the United States.
Okay.
So there's the thing called cellar temperature. This is where wine is typically drank at 55 degrees. Europeans, I should say, typically prefer their beer warmer, but like around 50 degrees. Americans like their beer around 34 degrees. And for me, it's really a style issue. I don't even think Germans like Pilsners at 55 degrees. I think they drink them pretty cold too. But like I know a lot of people, they're beer experts who live in the city. When they get a stout, they just start warming it because they know it's too cold.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, like you're serving it at 32 degrees. And it's like with Pilsners, like if you drink a lukewarm Bud Light, it's horrible.
Right.
If you drink a lukewarm stout, you're getting so much more flavor
So
out
it's
of
more
it than
of
you
a
used to.
preference,
Sure.
really, right?
It is definitely a preference, but certain beer styles lend themselves to higher temperature.
Okay.
No matter what your preference is, stouts do just taste better a little warmer. Pilsners taste like garbage a little warmer.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine having a Pilsner warm.
Yeah. Like this Belgian's drinking pretty nicely as it warms up.
Oh, yeah,
A lot of the fruit flavors start to grow out.
Yeah,
And stuff you would have missed when it's cold. The golden ale doesn't taste great warm,
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, so obviously you try different because like in the beer that you made,
Cheers
was
to
it Cheers to Breakfast?
Yeah.
You use her coffee,
That's correct.
and so is it through experimentation, or how did you? It's like, okay, let's try this, or like how did you decide? Okay, maybe if we add a little bit of this, that would change the flavor, or like what?
Well, no.
What would be the process?
Somebody once did that experimentation. We didn't.
Okay.
Because honestly, everything's online now. So if you want to do a coffee beer, now that is actually one of the problems with our industry. I was talking about it with the 2 brewers who made this beer with me. The problem with looking stuff up online is brewing is a science. It's
Correct, yes.
hard science. And so many brewers aren't scientific. And by scientific, what I mean is the scientific process is creating a hypothesis, testing that hypothesis under various circumstances, under various controls, more than once, often, over and over, comparing the results and coming up with a theory. Brewers tend to be, it worked once, so let's do it again. And if it works twice, that's just how you do it. So, if it doesn't work, well, then we're never doing that again, even though there are a million things that could have happened to screw that up. So it's hard to find reliable information online because I remember trying to make a smoked beer once. How many pounds of smoked malt in a 10-pound beer should I do? Half a pound or 9. That's not helping me.
Right.
It's a huge. If it had been half a pound to 1 pound, I'd be like, okay, well, I'll just
Somewhere in the middle of that.
somewhere in the middle
like,
or whatever.
9?
No, exactly. So when we did
So
this
what'd you
beer,
go with? No, just
yeah, exactly. So with this beer, my brewer Patrick Wong, he already had a basic idea because he's done beers like this before, or learned from people who've done this, and the knowledge is passed down. That it wasn't like a mystery. And honestly, we could, if we really wanted to, experiment. But the problem is, if you make beer on small scale, like 10-gallon batches, which we have a small brewery to do with, it doesn't taste the same as when you do it on a big batch. And if you do it on a big batch, you're spending hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, really, after labor and everything. And, you're done. It's like, after 3 weeks, you're done. It's like, yeah, I needed more salt. Okay, then you put more salt. Like, no, that was too much. So basically, you get it to where you kind of like it and just call it good. Yeah, we could probably do batch after batch after batch after batch, and we use 1 pound of coffee per barrel. What about 1.25 pounds? What about 0.75 pounds? We leave it in for 1 day. What about a day and a half? What about 2 days? And there's so many variables to where it's like you just go mad. And yes, you could perfect it, but that takes a lot of time and a lot of money versus we like where it's at.
Right.
Maybe it could be better. Maybe it would be worse. We got a good thing going. Let's just roll with it.
Well, my friends absolutely loved it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
It was really, really good. They were all asking me the next day, where can we find it? It's going to be in cans and all kinds of stuff. So it was really cool. And it was really neat to know that the keg got kicked or cashed or however.
Kicked. Yeah. Kicked. Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's a hard thing to do. Kick a keg in one sitting. I mean, that was 5 hours ish. That's quite a lot of beer in 5 hours, especially for a place like Corey's. I mean, that's
right.
I would have been impressed if a quarter of it had been sold. I mean, hell, that was pretty awesome.
Yay!
Issa was happy.
Was it sold, or was it just Alexis like, oh, here, try it.
No, I didn't.
No.
We found Issa and I found 2 pints that had been untouched. We didn't know. No, there were a lot of cleared pints. I mean, it was legitimately drank.
Yeah.
That's it.
I had a good time.
Yeah, so did I. We all had good times.
It was nice to let loose. I'll say that.
So obviously you've been doing it for 3 years. You've obviously gone to, I know they had some sort of beer fest or kind of conventions and stuff like that. So, is it more, I mean, you mentioned, you have a Facebook group where you have all different type of groups of brewers and stuff like that. Is it more of a competition or more of a camaraderie?
Camaraderie. Yeah. The way craft brewing typically works is we compete as friends, and we're all different businesses. So, that's what it is, and nobody's trying to run anybody else's business. But there is a lot of sharing of equipment, a lot of sharing of utilities, a lot of sharing of knowledge, because the way we all feel is we are in competition with Bud Miller Coors.
Yeah.
I am not in competition with Craft House.
Right.
Now, if Bud Miller Coors goes away tomorrow, oh yeah, I hate Craft House. Fuck those guys.
Right.
Fuck those men.
But no, realistically, we compete together because we're trying to get that blue moon out of your hands. No matter which one of our beers you pick up, the high tide will raise all boats. If you're drinking Craft House, that means you're just interested in craft. You might give me a shot. If you're drinking at my place, you might go to Bad Beat. If you're drinking at Bad Beat, you might go downtown to try all those places. That's why we do collaborations. It's getting the name out there. So it's oh, you like our beer? We'll try these guys' beer. You ever tried these guys? Well, we like them. And right now, there is not a single brewery in the city that doesn't get along with every other brewery.
Right.
There are very limited personal issues between some people, but not much. Seriously, but we also have a very small brewing community. I hear in San Diego, it's you basically have 5 brewing cliques.
Oh wow.
And they're like gangs.
Jesus.
And they don't get along with each other, but inside they're all friends, kind of thing.
God.
Yeah. But even then, I don't think it's real, animosity kind of stuff. That happens. There were 2 breweries, I won't say who they are, but there were 2 breweries in Vegas that did not get along. Seriously, did not get along. But it never really went down from ownership. The people who worked with those employees, or the employees who worked for those breweries, they had no grudges.
Yeah,
all the brewers, they still got along. They still traded equipment and all stuff. It's just the owners. And then as things happen, time and money heals wounds, you know? So there's a certain point where it's just well, we're in business to be in business. So who cares?
Yeah. And, okay. So, right now it's just, you guys are just local, and, have you gone nationwide or other places and stuff like that?
My beer is broken, so I need another one.
Yeah.
There's a hole in the top of the glass.
Yeah, there you go. You got to fix it.
Yeah. We're not looking to go nationwide anytime soon.
Okay.
We would be looking to, at best, we're still a relatively small brewery.
Okay.
And there are so many places, even in Las Vegas, where we're not sold. I mean, nobody's sold up north unless you're at a Speedy Mart. We're in Speedy Marts and whatnot. But there aren't a lot of beer bars up north. There's only one brewery, North Fifth Brewery. It's not even open yet in Northtown. Yeah. North Las Vegas is about to have its first brewery.
Yeah, but no one wants to go to Northtown.
I know, exactly, right?
And I live there, so
I know.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, so
I don't think I've ever been there, actually.
Yeah, so the question is, are they underserved, or are there no breweries there for a reason? And we're going to find out. I mean, those guys are great. North Fifth, Matt and Amanda, they're awesome. They just got the brewer from Banger Brewing, Patrick Tofty. Fantastic guy and stuff. So yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah, we do a lot of work with a nomad brewer called Juxta Nomad. So he was the head brewer of Joseph James for a long time. Joseph James folded. I picked up their brewer, Patrick Wong, because for reasons I'm not going to go into on this podcast, I had to let go of my original brewer. He presented me with a situation. I had to make him available to the industry. But right at that same time, this guy, Patrick Wong, was coming along because I knew Joseph James was closing, even though that wasn't public knowledge. And so the moment it did, I hit him up, and 2 months later is my brewer.
There you go.
And then Kyle, who was the head brewer, he is going into business on his own as a nomad brewer. So he goes in and he brews a beer with you, puts his name on it. He puts up half the money for the beer. That includes labor or whatever the brewery wants to include in that. And then he takes the profit off of it too, half the profit.
Oh, cool.
So yeah.
That's really dope.
Having fun with my voice.
Yeah, I was trying
Cool.
to increase it a little bit.
Yeah.
I saw the bars levels were a little low.
Oh, I can get louder.
No.
Okay.
So let me
Chapeau Tray 4.
now. With the recent. So this is why I don't understand seltzer, like the White Claw, and
God, that just sounds horrible.
it does. So what's your take on it? Like, why is it so popular?
Well, it tastes good. I mean, it's soda. Fuck. You know, I've had White Claw.
But is it
Is it
the
just
same
basically like-
process as making beer, or is it a little different?
No, but it's very close. It's a very similar process, and there's a lot going on with seltzer in the beer world. Like it was a huge fad for the beer world. That
Reminds me of Zuma back in the day.
yeah, but it's better.
Zima? Is Zima or
yeah,
Or Zima.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know. Zuma.
Zima was
Zuma?
horrible.
It's like, so
I just remember it was-
you work out while you drink beer. Zumas.
Actually, I would say it's closer to Mike's Hard Lemonade and Smirnoff Ice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it's just so you can make seltzer water, and the Taxation Trade Bureau changed their rules so the breweries can make seltzer. Vegas doesn't make a lot of seltzer. Mojave makes a seltzer or made one. Lovelady made a couple. I made one for shits and giggles because all my employees were drinking White Claw. I'm like,
Right.
I was like, we could just fucking do this and back, right? you know, I could just make 10 gallons of this and it's going to cost about $5, right? Because all you have to do to make your basic seltzer is you take 11. You know, I've got a 10-gallon brewing system. You put 11 gallons of water to boil. You take 15 pounds of sugar. You put it in there. You stir it for 5 minutes. You cool it, you put it in a fermenter with yeast, and then you get seltzer. You can put whatever flavorings you want. I bought some cherry flavoring from Smith's for $2, and yeah, it tasted like perfect garbage seltzer. It was great. You know, it wasn't as professional as White Claw, because with White Claw, you have to use activated carbon. You do all this other stuff to make it taste really professional. But yeah, this got you drunk and it didn't taste bad. So it was fun, and it cost like $5, whatever, and a couple hours. It's really easy to make.
Oh, wow.
But Modern Times makes a seltzer. Belgian Beaver makes a seltzer. Oscar Blues out of Colorado is making seltzer. So that was a huge issue for a lot of brewers that never touched me or Vegas. We never got into it. Now the seltzer trend is apparently dead.
Is it?
So, I mean, White Claw is going to be sold for a while, Truly and all those. But basically,
It's skipping out.
yeah, it's starting. It basically all the suckers got weeded out, and now all you have are the big brands, and that's probably where it's going to stay for a while. Kind of like back when you had Smirnoff Ice, there were a billion different clones, and then it just kind of settled down to Mike's and Smirnoff, and that's kind of where seltzer's going. I think. I don't think you're going to find craft breweries doing a lot of seltzers in the future. I know that profits have fallen on that. Like Beer Zombies, they used to sell that, and like they couldn't keep the Modern Times in stock. Now they don't bother to stock it.
Oh, it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
At this point.
It was a fad, and people still drink seltzer. But like Truly, for instance, I believe that's the one that's owned by Sam Adams. You know, Sam Adams.
I think Bud Light has like a Bud Light seltzer.
Bud Light has a seltzer. Yeah,
God,
Bud
I
Light
saw that
seltzer.
in like a convenience store. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yep, Bud Light makes a seltzer. Corona has a seltzer.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, during the pandemic, they got to have to.
Yeah, they
try
got to
venture off.
diversify. Yeah, exactly.
Diversify.
So what made you decide to name your company I'm sorry.
I just like science.
You just like science. So you're like a big Neil Tyson deGrasse fan?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Sorry, deGrasse.
Yeah, he's cool. He's good shit.
Yeah, we saw him. We actually saw him in person.
Yeah, he's
he's one of my
coming next
favorites.
year. Yeah, I'm going to try to go see him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's so charismatic on stage.
I
Like,
bet.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
like he's definitely worth it. And what is he? He has like a stack of cards and like basically chooses whatever topic
whatever
out of it. So
yeah,
it's just kind of
subjects.
really random. It's really neat.
Very cool.
Yeah, definitely go see him. I would go see him again. To be
Yeah, I
honest.
think he's going to be at Smith Center.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where we saw him.
Okay, yeah.
That's where we
yeah.
saw him.
I'm going to try to get the VIP tickets to actually meet him.
Yeah, that's what we did.
I want to bring him. I want to bring him an astronomy T-shirt. I mean,
yeah,
shit,
you
know?
got to do
Well,
it.
I think the problem is though it's quick. It's one of those like
Even so, I don't care.
Yeah.
Here, I own a brewery called
Right.
Astronomy. Here's a card. Here's a T-shirt.
Right.
Have
Bye.
fun, bro. Thanks.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm totally down with that. Maybe he'll come by. Maybe he'll send me an email. Whatever.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
You know.
His arm was around me. I was like, look, you touched me.
Well, he got into trouble with that, but
Yeah, he did.
they
Yeah,
tried.
he did.
They tried to cancel.
I think,
for
yeah,
it.
they
It didn't-
tried to.
It didn't stick.
Yeah.
Everybody, because like one of my owners, my cousin, his wife, her dad is local, and he's actually an astronomer. And he's
Oh,
like,
wow.
Neil deGrasse Tyson would never do that. Like, come on, you know.
Come on, dude.
I mean, and it's like the accusations like this woman had a tattoo of the solar system, and he was trying to find Pluto and pointed at her shoulder. I can't find Pluto because he's known for killing Pluto. I absolutely believe he touched her shoulder and said, "I can't find Pluto."
That's it.
Okay,
Okay.
and I'm sure he'd say, "Yeah." Okay.
I was also
Sorry.
hammered. There's photos of me being hammered at a
Yeah,
party.
exactly. You know,
That I've done, questionable things.
back when
No,
that
I'm
was,
talking about just
Yeah.
in general, like at
I
a
mean,
party.
being handsy is what some people are. That's no longer okay in 2021. That was fine in 2013 for a lot of people.
Yeah,
You know,
but at the time, it's
and
different.
you could argue, well, it was never fine. Well, it kind of was. Sorry, you know, like, okay, new rules. We all move on. Don't do cool, awesome. You know,
Let's move on from it.
I mean, well, just the other day, I did the Keanu Reeves. I saw that where it's like somebody's taking a picture with me. It was at the party, and I put my hand up. Exactly.
He
yeah,
hovers. He hovers his hand.
hovers his hand out there, just so nobody can accuse him of
Right.
grabbing an ass or something like that.
Exactly.
Oh, really?
Which is
Yeah,
smart.
he
Yeah,
hovers.
yeah.
There's photos of him just hovering his hands around people.
Yeah.
Oh, he just says this.
He just like, so basically your back.
It's smart. It's
like
super
right
smart.
here.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, it's a nice way to be still close to somebody, and you know, just like he's got to look out. He's a target. And like,
Yeah.
look, I'm clearly not grabbing
But I
your
think
ass,
so if
but I'm still close
I
to
would
you. and
rather
that's cool.
close my fists because, like, if you stick the hand out,
Well,
someone can like scoop back. And it's like, oh, you touched my ass.
Yeah,
So
I
I was like,
guess,
nope,
you know,
I
but-
punched your ass. Different
I
story.
punched your ass.
I donkey punched your ass. Get it right. Now get back over here. You liked it.
No, like, obviously, what about allergies? Because I know people who are like gluten,
Oh
whatever.
yeah, we don't worry about that shit at all.
Oh.
So
Fuck those
Like, do
motherfuckers.
you get like,
yeah, kind of. Yeah,
so you get emails
absolutely.
like,
No, we
why
so you're not coming out with a
Yes,
do
yes,
you have
so-
a vegan beer yet?
well, okay, I'll address both. I'll address both.
Okay.
The first answer won't surprise you. The second actually will.
Okay.
So, do I get gluten-free emails? Yes, I do. And gluten-free beer, unless you are really concentrated on it, and there are people who do. Omission Brewery, for instance, tastes like shit. It's very difficult to make a good gluten-free beer. It can be done. It takes a lot of effort and this and that, and you can do it. Gluten reduced is more common, like Stone Delicious IPA. It's called Delicious IPA. It's very good. It's a great beer. It's gluten reduced. To go gluten-free, technically there could be no whatever in the facility that day, et cetera, et cetera. But you can do it. I don't. And everybody says the same thing. Oh, dude, if you made a gluten-free beer, I got like 10 friends who won't drink gluten. They'll be at your brewery every day, man. No, they won't. Oh, yeah, they will. No, they won't. Number one, you don't have 10 friends who have gluten allergies.
Right.
I don't know 10 people who have gluten-free allergies, much less are they my friends. Two, you're not going to be at my brew every day. People who say, I'll be there every day, they are like twice a week, and then once a week, and then once a month, and that's fine.
Right.
That's cool. I'm the only guy who goes to a brewery every day. Shit. I don't use that as a level of friendship. But no, I'm not going to invest in gluten-free brewing for you and your 10 fake friends, so that you can occasionally come down and do it. There is a market for it. Yes, there absolutely is a market for it, and I have no interest in it. Same thing with non-alcohol beer. Non-alcohol beer costs a lot of money to make.
How's that done?
Yeah,
Not-
why would
Various
you even
different
wanna
ways.
drink
You
it,
could
though?
use a machine to do it.
Okay.
You can flash fry it. There is a market for it, but if you see alcohol-free beer, typically it's very big companies who have the money to buy that stuff. When you have the money to buy that equipment, that's great, and you can go into that market. That's why there are Coors, Heineken, and whatnot.
Heineken-
Yeah,
I heard Heineken's
Amstel,
pretty good.
You know, but I have no interest in. No, vegan beer. Most beer is vegan. Let me see here.
Most of the reason are vegan.
This beer is vegan. That beer is vegan. That beer is vegan.
What would
I don't.
market
I
it's really
actually don't think I have a beer right now that isn't vegan, because there's not much you can put into beer that isn't
what do you
vegan.
put to make it not vegan?
Yeah, there's only a couple things.
Only if
basically.
you would put honey, because some people that
Honey?
would
Oh,
would
Some
consider
okay.
that.
honey.
So some people consider honey a vegan issue. Some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you do. Okay, well you can't drink my Belgian. That's got honey in it. Commonly, what used to be used is a chemical called isinglass. Isinglass is a filtering agent. We use biofine, which is exactly the same thing, only made in a laboratory, but it does the same thing. But that used to be made out of fish bladder. And it was a big deal. I want to say like 2013, 2014 or something. Guinness said, we're no longer using isinglass. Yay, we're vegan. Cool.
Okay.
Most beer is vegan. You don't need to use that filtering agent there. You can filter it. There's a number of different things you can do. Biofine is a vegan option for it.
Oh, nice.
I don't think of it as vegan because it's just whatever. The other thing that is commonly used in beer is lactose. So a lot of New England IPA has lactose in it. We used to use lactose extensively in our hazy pale ale.
What does that do? Is that just flavor?
Okay, so what lactose is it's milk sugar.
Okay.
And the reason why brewers use lactose is, okay, so what does yeast do? It eats sugar. And it turns that sugar into alcohol and whatnot. Yeah. But if you put table sugar into beer, it'll eat it. You put whatever you want in, it'll eat it. So if you want to make a beer sweeter, you can't dump sugar into it. It will just eat the sugar.
Yeah.
So what you do is you add fruit puree, and it even eats the sugars out of that, but you still have residual sweetness out of it. But lactose is a beer sweetener that beer yeast will not ferment.
Oh, wow.
So that's a way to make beer sweeter, is using lactose, but it's also not vegan. And so like you said, have celiac disease and people can't do gluten. That's actually a very, very small community of people who are actually diagnosed with that. Lactose intolerance is a much larger community. I've never had somebody come up, oh, I got celiac, man, I can't drink beer. Because they're not even in the conversation. They don't even try.
Yeah.
And
They're doing something else.
but I do have people ask, is there lactose in it? Not because of the vegan issue, but because of lactose
I
intolerance.
would never guess that.
Yeah,
this is cool.
And so I get that quite a bit. And we don't really use lactose anymore. My current brewer, P. Wong, he hates it. He hates it. I don't care one way or the other. But if you have something like a milk stout, that's the milk in a milk stout. That's a very common form of beer, but now they're using it in hazy IPAs. They call them milkshake IPAs too.
Oh, okay.
So that's the milk and milkshake IPA is a lot of lactose.
I tend to gravitate towards IPAs.
Yeah.
And I just really like the flavoring.
It's the most popular beer style in America.
Oh,
IPA.
I didn't know. I didn't.
Has been for 20 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, next question is, what about so you did the coffee. Now, what about cannabis? Like, has
that's
there been
100% illegal.
Illegal?
And yeah, it's not even close to legal. It's not even remotely legal. It's
To
not
mix the two?
Yeah,
What do
it's
you-
1,000%
Like-
illegal, and it's a very simple
what
explanation.
about
why.
like if they drop like CBD or whatever?
It's
illegal?
very easy to say why it's illegal. It's because beer and alcohol is a huge issue for the government. They have the ATF and they have the TTB. It was illegal, and we had gangsters over this shit. Alcohol is very federally monitored. Guess what else is? Weed.
Yeah.
Weed is illegal. Every single place you go, weed is federally illegal. Obviously, the government has decided if a state wants to legalize it, we're not going to fuck with you. But I have to answer to state and I have to answer the feds for my beer. It's not just the state. If I didn't have to answer to the feds, I could probably put THC in beer. I cannot do that.
I don't,
because the feds go, fuck you, no, this is an illegal substance. This is Schedule 1.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to jail, you try that shit.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Federal pound me in the ass jail, not even like light jail. Federal pound me in the ass jail.
But personally, I don't know if I really would want my beer to be an edible either, because when that edible hits,
oh God,
man,
stoners do. Are you fucking kidding me? Stoners do, because you can go to California and get weed beer, but it's non-alcoholic.
No, yeah, I get it. I actually, I like it. It's a hoppy weed drink, and there's no, and I enjoy it because it gives me that like I like to drink it at night. I have CBD and THC in it when I'm in LA, and I'll have it at night right before I go to bed. It makes me sleepy, and I'm in bed.
Yeah.
And I'm not having a beer. I just like the hoppy flavor of it.
Yeah.
But that's
a good way of putting it. It's hoppy beer drink.
It's like hoppy carbonated drink.
Yeah, hoppy beer drink. Yeah.
But I don't personally, for me, maybe because I'm a lightweight, would like to mix the two, because I remember being younger and mixing the two and getting fucking spins. So to drink that in it and then an hour later be like, oh shit, the floor's moving. I can't. Talk about astronomy. I would be in space.
There you go. Yeah.
Spinning.
So there was a beer
No
a couple
thanks.
years ago from New Belgium, and it was called Hail to the Emperor. And they made it 1 year, and the shit smelled like bong water. They used hemp hearts and hemp something, and they got dispensation because the TTB.
What's TTB?
Okay, so everybody knows what the ATF is because of Waco.
Of course, yeah.
And the TTB became the legal branch of ATF. So basically, if you pay your taxes and you want to do right, you deal with the TTB. If you try to smuggle and bootleg, the ATF is the law enforcement branch, and they come after your ass. It's kind of like the difference between the IRS and the FBI. Mm-hmm. You pay your taxes, you deal with the IRS. That's great. When the IRS gets mad at you, they get the FBI involved. Mm-hmm. So the TTB used to have a list of approved ingredients in beer, and it was this long. Then you could always get special dispensation. You could write in and say, I'm not even shitting you, I want to put cherries in my beer. TTB goes, okay, I want to put cherries. Yeah, fine, cherries, cool. Send it back. I want to age my beer in a barrel. Yeah, we don't have a problem with that. And they got tired of it because there used to be like 1,000 breweries in the United States. There are currently like 9,000. So in 2015, they went, Jesus, okay, look, orange, fine. Cherries, fine. And they have the list went from here to 7 pages of don't bother us.
Right.
Just it's okay to put this in beer.
Right.
It's okay.
Not a problem. We're cool with this. You don't have to ask. It's not an issue.
Right.
And so the TTB is they're the ones who deal with the taxation and what's legal to put in beer. So they gave special dispensation because they said, we want to put hemp hearts in here. And like, well, we allow hemp in this, hemp in that. Okay, it's not. Is there any THC? Here's a lab report. No THC. Okay, cool. And it smells like weed. And TTB was like, smells like weed. No THC. Mm-hmm. Don't like it. Fuck you. You can't do this again. And they legalized it for a minute and said, cool. And then they said, we are not accepting this anymore. This is the one beer that gets to get made like this. And they may change their minds again.
Right.
And the second, again, if weed becomes federally legal, all that is up for discussion. Doesn't mean it'll be allowed. Like, for instance, you still can't mix alcohols. Like, I cannot add tequila to my beer and sell it. I cannot do that. That is
why is that?
I don't know. They just don't like it.
Is there beer?
Even
though it's alcohol, right?
I think what they don't like is, like, for instance, if I were to add beer to tequila, they might be like, why the fuck are you doing that? Mm-hmm. But
a bunch of people will say
exactly.
that.
Why are you doing
That's
that?
what I'm thinking.
You got a perfectly good product. Why are you mixing beer?
Why are you fucking that up?
Yeah, but with beer, people would want to say like, I've got a 15% beer, and you just spike it with vodka, and they're like, no, we're not going to let you do that.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. Like, for instance, certain beers aren't illegal, but you need to get distiller's license for them.
There was one beer that I had. I mean, this was years and years ago in like Florida, and it comes in it was like brewed once a year around Christmas. It's like in a small bottle, and it is like the highest content of alcohol I think I've ever had in what's considered a beer, but it tasted like liquor.
So there's 2 ways to do this. You probably had Sam Adams Utopias. Is probably what it is.
I don't know.
So there's 2 ways to get alcohol into. Well, it's 2 ways to do this. So Utopias by Sam Adams is the highest naturally fermented beer in existence. It's typically around 25%. I'm sure a listener is going to say, no, it's actually 23.2, whatever. Like, cool. Around 25%. And it's done naturally, meaning because yeast will produce alcohol, but even yeast dies in alcohol. Yeast creates this poisonous environment to itself. And even it doesn't like it after a while. So again, like why we have lager yeast, why we have different breeds of dogs is you're breeding yeast to be stronger. Sam Adams over decades made a yeast that will eat sugar and survive at very high alcohol levels. And so this is a naturally fermented beverage at very high alcohol level. The other way you can do it is you have a brewery called Brewdog, and they're supposedly going to be opening up on the top of like Planet Hollywood or whatever the hell. They have a beer called the Tactical Nuclear Penguin. Yeah, it's awesome. Oh, it's the best fucking name ever. Tactical Nuclear Penguin. And I had it. And that is an ice beer. And the way you make an ice beer is you ice distill a beer. Now that is considered distillation.
Okay.
I can make that beer, but I can't make that beer. I can literally make that beer, but I can't sell that beer unless I have a distiller's license. So I would have to get a distiller's license because what you're doing is alcohol has a different freezing point than water. So you put the beer at the perfect temperature to freeze the water, but not the alcohol.
Yep.
So the water freezes and you open it up and you drip the beer out, or I've never made it. I don't know how you do it exactly to extract the liquid out of there, but what comes out of there is alcoholic stuff, beer stuff that doesn't have much water, if any at all in it. So it's concentrated beer. So it's around like 30 or 40% alcohol. So it's ice distillation by getting all the water out of it. So you're also taking a keg and turning it into like 32 ounces, It's not very profitable, But then again, that's why alcohol is more expensive hard alcohol is more expensive. You're taking because honestly, hard alcohol pretty much starts out like, Scotch starts out as beer. Shit. I mean, you have depending on the Scotch, like, Craft House, way back in the day, made whiskey with the distiller across the parking lot. They brewed a batch of their beer, gave it to them, and they distilled it.
Wow,
you can do that. You can distill an IPA and make it
into
a whiskey.
Yeah,
it's legal to do as well. If you have a distiller's license, you can absolutely do that, no problems.
Huh?
But it doesn't make great whiskey. So,
pass it around for everybody to try.
What is that?
The golden ale.
Oh, that's good shit. So yeah, the golden ale is basically the beer that we use for the beer you and I did.
Yeah,
that's the base for it. That's
so
without the coffee.
Base, without the coffee.
Without the coffee, cinnamon, and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
yeah, that is damn good.
Yeah, it's a good beer.
So I mean, so your coffee, it was what? The dark roast.
I want to say it was the espresso roast.
Was it espresso roast?
I could be wrong. Pretty sure it was the espresso roast.
Espresso roast. I think that's what you asked. I forget which one you asked for. But it was either dark roast or the espresso roast, whichever.
Pretty sure it was espresso, but whatever. Yeah.
And then what? It had a hint of cinnamon and
vanilla.
Yep, we use cinnamon sticks for it. Again, perfectly approved.
Not Captain Crunch or whatever.
Yeah, not Captain Crunch. Oh, people are putting cereals in beer. No fucking joke. It's the dumbest thing ever. It's basically a gimmick because you're not actually extracting any flavor. So they dump donuts and shit into the mash, like full boxes of cereal just to say they do. Just to say they do it and it sells more beer. It's a gimmick. It's stupid.
Okay, so yeah, because I like to go to Corey's.
Stupid like a Fawx though. Those guys are making fucking millions. But
I like to go to Corey's, and the reason why I know about your beer too, before I even met you, is because going there and being like, oh, this is a cool label. Let me get it. This is a cool label. Let me get it.
Yeah, let me put in a plug for Judd Olson. Judd Nelson, Jed Olson. He does all our label work except for the gamma ray bursts that we just did.
Yeah,
and he created Caesar the Space Ape. So
how do you come up with the name? Do you have like a list of all these names, or
no? Often I just come up to him when I'm just brainstorming. Shit happens. But yeah, Caesar the Space Ape came up because that's a name I didn't come up with. So one of the guys who owns Able Baker, James Manos, outstanding dude. We have the winery behind us, and right after we open, he's very bombastic. He's from South Carolina and Hawaii-ish, and he's Greek. So he's like, so he's got that kind of Southern accent, but big hands. It says mahalo a lot. Aloha, man. It's really funny. I love this guy. I hope he listens to this because he's the best.
That'd be awesome.
But he, one time he was like, "Hey, man, I got the perfect name for you. So check it out. If you make a wine barrel aged beer for the people out there, you got to call it Planet of the Grapes. Perfect in your style, man. Planet of the Grapes." And he's right. So I told the artist, I said, like, "Hey, man, I need a ape in a spacesuit." So he did. He said, "We got to name it. How about Caesar?" Which is, one of the apes from Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's Caesar the space ape.
Wow.
Oh, this is so dope.
That's awesome.
So we made Planet of the Grapes, and then we did another wine barrel age where it was take your paws off me, you damn dirty grape. So, but yeah, it's become, and he goes, that's going to be your mascot, right? You put it on a second label, it's going to be your mascot. So I intentionally did. He goes, now it's your mascot, and it's on our wall now.
Yeah.
It's on pretty much every one of our labels. We put him in the Starfleet uniform for Hazers on Stun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For binary solutions, so like there's a lot in this can actually. So I mean, you're not going to really be able to see it, but it's got two of them so it's a double IPA, so binary. It's got two of them, and once they're right in the center of the label, there's two stars that are bright, and it didn't print very well, but if you look at it, it's actually printed a constellation.
Oh, yeah.
You can see that's the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper isn't technically a constellation. It's part of a larger constellation, Ursa Major, which means large bear. But that right there is, a lot of people know the Big Dipper. And if your eyesight's good enough, or if you have binoculars, you can see that the middle star in the Big Dipper is not actually a star. It's two stars. It's a binary star system, Alcor and Mizar. So it perfectly splits the label, Alcor and Mizar. It's a binary star on binary solution.
I fucking love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I totally buy shit on
And what I
labels.
usually do with him, what I usually do with him, like, I can't draw for fuck. So I can Photoshop though. So I take elements and I kind of put them together. I send it to him and I literally say, make this look cool.
That's awesome.
And he does. He makes it look
That's
great. Yeah.
That's what I do to Joe. I'm like, make me look
there
cool.
you go, yeah. But a lot of these names, I just come up with them sometimes just when I'm driving, whatever. Sometimes I'll have a name for a beer and try to design it around it.
Yeah.
Like I'll have a great name and say, what can I do with this name? What kind of beer can I make with this name? But usually I'm just, like Hazers on Stun. What's a hazy IPA? Hazers. I'm like, Hazers on Stun.
Yeah.
I just thought of a beer name yesterday. I was listening to Star Wars music in my car. It just came on the shuffle. And every year, you have May the 4th be with you. And what we've done the past couple of years is a very dark stout that we call Force of Darkness. And so with Force of Darkness, though, in May is not a great time to release a stout. Get out of my beer. You're done. You're banished. Yeah. Anyways, these guys are cool, man. They don't try to drink my beer.
They're pots.
They're the weed dogs. Got it.
Yeah. That's what it seems.
That dog's the drunk. It looks like it's on coke. Actually,
Did a lot of coke in the bathroom. It's like, hey man, I need to come down a little
he
bit.
needs a bump.
Let me get some of that beer.
But yeah, so we do May the 4th be with you as a holiday.
Yeah.
And I did glassware this year with the Space Ape, because usually I do the Space Ape with something different in his hand. Like for the Golden Ale, it's a hockey stick. And then for this one, I just said put a lightsaber in his hand. But I was thinking, it's like, May the 4th be with you. My brewer really wants to do a beer called a Maibock, Maibock, and it's a strong lager, German style, that's typically released in May. Well, May the 4th be with you. So May the Bock be with you.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I love
so
that's
that'll
really
be the
cool.
next beer. And it'll be spelled instead of MAY, it'll be MAI, May the Bock be with you.
I love it.
And there you go. Because you can go the obviously Chewbacca pun, but everybody's done that.
Yeah.
Everybody's done the Chewbacca pun, but yeah.
So this is gonna be a last question for me, unless Alexis has one. So why did you decide to do cans instead of bottles, glass bottles?
The whole industry's moving to cans, and there's very good reasons why. There's like a billion reasons why. Cans stack, bottles don't. Cans are lighter, so when you ship them, it costs less. Cans are not clear. Light affects beer. Either positively or negatively, it affects beer. Typically,
So is that the reason
negatively.
why they colored the glass?
That's exactly why. But you still have clear beer bottles.
Correct, yeah.
But that's because they designed the beer to get skunky and weird, like Heineken.
Can you explain a little about skunky? Like why does the beer get skunky? Or
It's light. Light will make it skunky and stuff, and people like their Heineken. I don't. Fuck them. But, so you want the light to interact, but typically you don't want light to interact with beer. This makes it so there isn't. Also, there's a much larger area to put your label on. So you can get better art, more information on the cans.
And for someone like me who likes to buy things on the art,
Absolutely.
I'm like, oh.
So I mean,
You're like a squirrel. It's like, oh my God, that's
oh
so
yeah,
pretty. I love
absolutely.
it.
It's lighter, it's cheaper, it's easier. The list goes on of why you'd use cans for beer. The reason why beer's quote unquote good beer wasn't in cans for a long time. People say, "Oh, I don't drink beer from a can. I drink from bottles." Is perception again? Why is the beer better in Ireland? It's perception. It has nothing to do with reality. Oh, you can taste the aluminum. Bullshit. You can't. You cannot taste the aluminum. Back in like the 50s, you could, but we have linings and shit. No, you cannot taste the aluminum. You can't taste anything. It's perception. And what was the perception of canned beer for a while? Busch.
Yeah.
Natty Light.
Right.
Yeah.
Garbage beer comes
Milwaukee
in cans.
best.
Good beer like Sam Adams comes in bottles.
Right.
You want to put it in bottles. Even Sam Adams, they still do bottles, but they do cans now.
Yeah.
A lot of people do cans. Nobody in Las Vegas, nobody bottles their beer unless it's a special release, because now bottles are kind of looked at as a little fancy. Nobody bottles beer in Vegas. We all can our beer.
I would think it would like heat up faster too.
No, I don't think so. I honestly have no idea, but it's just such a better package for your beer in so many reasons. That's why. But the only reason people didn't was that stigma, and that stigma is 100% gone down. I mean, all crap. I mean, if you go to Beer Zombies or you go to Corey's, you don't find a lot of beer in bottles. You find it mostly in cans. Everything works better. It recycles better. It's cheaper. It's the list goes on of why
Put
it's
your
so
shit
much better.
in cans, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
I like.
Yeah.
I would drink soda. I drink a lot.
You
I
know,
like
quite
the craft-
honestly, I mean, comparably to the cannabis industry, you want to talk about packaging and shitty packaging. It's like all the dab materials are just coming in all these little glass containers. Well, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
If I could just crinkle it up and be aluminum or do something, it's not going to change the
Yeah, you
flavor
can crush this
of the bud.
It stacks better. It doesn't break when you drop it. I mean, so many different reasons why this is better.
Yeah, I think the cannabis industry really, really needs to get on their game as far as packaging goes, labeling, and really, because I kind of did this experiment.
It's a lot
and
a lot of plastic too.
There's plastic lids and glass. I mean, it's a lot of waste material, to be quite honest with you. And I think for a year, I kept it all. And what I saw afterwards, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, what am I supposed to do all this shit? It's just it's just so wasteful.
It is.
At that point.
Actually, they do have a program where you bring back the bag and you don't have to spend an extra $1 for
Thanks,
the bag.
Joe.
Cool.
Always likes to rain on my brain.
I know, I do. So, do you have any questions?
No, I really feel educated. I really learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
That first beer is still strong. I was like, holy shit, I feel it whole.
Yeah. No, I know.
That's a good one.
But again, I gave you one of those pale ales from my buddy at Kayak.
Oh yeah.
Veteran
Oh, where is
Kayak.
that? Is that that's outside. Let me go grab that. Can you?
Either way, I can just talk about it, but
Yeah,
it's
Just grab the
it's
can.
a really cool thing that he.
I'm gonna try it actually, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great pale ale, and we have another batch of it coming soon. I don't know if we're going to can it or not, but it's Brett Sullivan. He runs a company called Veteran Kayaks, and he's a veteran himself. He's British, so he didn't fight for the enemy, but just kidding. No,
And
he's
it's
a dear
really
friend.
cool, very cool label once again. I love everything about
that
it.
wasn't our designer. That was his, but it looks really neat.
The taste of victory.
The taste of victory. Yeah, no, it's good stuff. And we put Victory malt. Victory is a type of malt. So we put Victory malt in there. It's just a great solid pale ale. It's so good, we brewed another batch. I mean, we brewed a bigger batch. We doubled it up because that sold out so quick. We're out of it. He bought all of it, and he just gives it to the kayak people. So
that's really great. And I'm a veteran myself. So.
That's why he wanted you to have it. He knew.
Well, I'll have to try it.
Yeah, he knew that you were a veteran. So that was pretty cool.
You can tell him I gave it a try. I'll give him a shout out on my Instagram, and also it'll be all on the.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. We're very happy with this beer. He designed it with my brewer, P. Wong. We call him P. Wong. It's Patrick Wong. P. Wong.
Now, like wine tastings and stuff like that, do you smell the beer?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you look around?
Some beers don't have much of an aroma. That has an amazing aroma.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, pale ales and IPAs you really want to smell. Stouts you can, but but it's like wine taste. The only thing you don't do, like real good wine drinkers, they'll slurp the wine and roll it around their tongue. You don't need to do that with beer. Matter of fact, it's just weird with beer. You could do it, but it makes it taste weird. Wine, it really does release the
I
flavors.
just look weird doing it anyway.
Well, yeah, okay, but yeah. So no, you do want to. You want to get your nose in it. You want to smell it because sometimes the aroma of the beer is extremely important. A Pilsner sometimes but the Golden Ale it smells like beer or whatever. You don't need to.
Golden Ale, it smells.
But that has a really good hop aroma.
Well, I even think like some of the IPAs, so depending on like who makes it, will have some very good aromas, and that like adds to the flavor.
Yeah.
itself.
So here's some knowledge. The way you get that is by dry hopping. So dry hopping doesn't. Oh, hey, what's up? How you doing?
No, that just kind of made me laugh with dry hopping.
Yeah.
Dry humping.
Oh no, not dry humping. Yeah, you don't roll up the fermenter and give it the business.
Dirty mind over here.
I just totally wanted to dry humping. I'm like, what?
I'm definitely going to tell my brewer it's called dry humping now. But so you add hops to the finished beer. The beer is basically done. It's not carbonated yet, but it's oftentimes, with hazy IPAs, you add it very early. But basically when the beer is done, it's done fermenting, you dump hops on top of it. And it doesn't add any bitterness to the beer, but it adds a hop oil. So it adds mouthfeel and texture to the beer, but it really adds a ton of aroma. And it's extremely necessary because as you know, COVID long haulers are discovering, not only taste, but aroma is key to tasting things.
Oh yeah. I my degree, what I went to college for and stuff like that, I learned all about that. Like you can literally, if you blindfold yourself and sealed off your sense, because like we've learned through just like if we see it, we're going to automatically know or going to program ourselves what it's going to taste like.
Yeah, you'll taste bitter, sweet.
You take those away. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between an apple or an onion because you can't see it and you can't smell it, and your taste buds are not going to tell you the difference.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So with beer, the aroma can be so important. It's not necessarily the most important thing to beer, but for IPAs, a lot of the times it's huge. So you spend a lot of money because one of the most expensive, like grain is 57 cents a pound to $1 a pound.
Oh, damn.
Hops are as much as $30-$40 a pound. Use far less of them. But yeah, so like if you dry hop at £1 a barrel, you're adding a couple $100 to the beer, depending on the size. You're just throwing money at it just to make it smell good. And it's important because, I mean, seriously, it's important. You know, it's important, and it's worth a couple $100 to make that beer smell good.
Oh, so many jokes.
All right, cool.
My head.
Yeah.
I'm picturing dry humping, dollars like being.
All right.
What's going on?
On that note, let's go ahead and end the show. Matt, go ahead and repeat how they can reach you and check out your beer.
And they are local in Las Vegas.
Yeah, we're local in Las Vegas, Henderson. We're 7350 Eastgate Road, Suite 170, over in Henderson. That's basically by the Auto Mall. That's Warm Springs and Eastgate. Not too far from Sunset Station. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. I don't really screw with Twitter. Just at Astronomy Aleworks.
Awesome.
Perfect. And it's absolutely one of my favorite breweries to go to and have beer. And I always have a.
I'm glad you like to have beer there because we don't have anything else.
Well, yeah, I like to.
But you go to the winery too. I mean, you've got a barrel at the winery.
Yeah, I got a barrel at the winery. That's right. But I've been picking up your beer. I like to have it in the fridge. It's a good beer to have. You know, it's a good to go camping with and throw it in the cooler.
Thanks.
So yeah, I really enjoy it, and it's really cool to do the collaboration.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. That was like one of the coolest collaborations I've done.
And we'll do it again. We'll do it again with the pumpkin spice version in a few months.
Yeah, you got it.
Awesome. Well, cool. And you can follow us on highestfoxshow.com, on Instagram, Highest Fox Show, Twitter, Highest Fox Show, Patreon, Highest Fox Show, Reddit, Highest Fox, YouTube, highestfox@gmail.com. And
such enthusiasm.
If you want, I have to do this over and over again.
It's my best friend.
Yeah. Well, if you want to follow this person over here, Alexis Fawx on Twitter, Alexis Fawx Live on IG, Fawx Fans for OnlyFans, foxfans.com for OnlyFans, Sex Panther, sexaf.com, foxmerch.com.
Sounds like you're reading a rap sheet. Aliases.
Yeah.
AKA Sex Panther, AKA works 60% of the time, all the time.
Right, exactly. The coffee, highafcoffee.com. Also use keyword podcast. You get 25% off. You spend $100. And you're not correcting me. Cool. And
I just want to know when you're going to braid that that thing you got growing on your chin. I think you should twist out your mustache next time.
I should. You gonna do that for me?
No, but I'll find someone that did. You want me to get Lisa?
Yeah,
to do
we'll
your
call
hair
Lisa.
and makeup?
Yeah, we'll get Lisa to come over.
Because apparently now I get hair and makeup for Joe.
Yeah.
Well, my bartender, Russell Gardner, he's old school beer in this community, set up a whole bunch of stuff. He's known for his giant mustache. I've seen him as memes.
Yeah.
Because
Really?
he does beer memes, and so his nickname is the Rustache.
Oh my god! I gotta get a
I'll show you a picture of him. Oh, he's awesome. He's a great dude.
That's
well, you
awesome.
met him. He was tended to your bar, but now he's got like the full beard and everything.
Oh, okay.
No, back when he just had the curly handlebar mustache, and he's handing you like a flight. I showed it to him. It's just like, yeah, that's cool, man, but you look so douchey.
Well, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Bye.